What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the JDW SportsTalkShow, where fans welcome. We're ready to rock and roll for Thursday Night Football, Week 2. Miami Dolphins at home in Hard Rock taking on the Buffalo Bills, looking to get the monkey off their back, man. I mean, this is a team that the Miami Dolphins has struggled against, and you kind of look at last year, it was kind of like tortoise and the hare situation. The Miami Dolphins were really looking like they're going to win the division, looking like they're going to take it away, and they had their absolute chance towards the end of the season versus the Buffalo Bills to seal it. They couldn't. They didn't. So this Miami Dolphins team is hungry. They're hungry. They want to come back. They want to beat the Bills. No Stephon Diggs. The Bills lost a couple players. The safeties aren't as good. You got Hamlin, and then you have I can't remember the other guy's name that I was just taking a peek at. But Hamlin started at free safety. Not really sure if Hamlin is a great starter. Obviously, great story, great starter. That's to be determined. But man, let's go. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a great show. So I appreciate you stopping by. Let's not waste too much time. First of all, let's go take a peek at the injuries here. So I think I actually screwed up my graphics. No, I didn't. Yeah, I kind of did a little bit, but all right, there we go. It's a little better. So injuries. We have, for the Miami Dolphins, Raheem Mostert and Malik Washington both out. Raheem Mostert running back, touchdown machine, goal line machine last year. And then you have wide receiver Malik Washington, which I believe he is a UDFA. I thought I heard some good things out of training camp if he's the guy I'm thinking of. So maybe you should have to later. I don't remember, but I think he was an underdog type of guy. But hey, man, I heard some good things. So unfortunately, he's out. But the Dolphins do have some really high-end receivers. So not too worried about it. Their slated stars are, of course, Tyreek and Waddle. Then you have Braxton Berrios in the slot. But all these guys can move around, and they have a lot of weapons, as we all know. So questionable for the Miami Dolphins. Running back Devon Achane. This would suck if both of their top two running backs go out. But I will say I also want to see Tennessee rookie Jalen Wright. The rookie out of Tennessee. I want to see Jalen Wright a little bit. I've seen a couple good things out of preseason from him, out of training camp from him. There were some really promising signs to that young kid. So I'm actually excited to get to see Jalen Wright if Devon Achane and Mostert are out. Even with just Mostert being out, I still expect Jalen Wright to be seeing some time. I think he's a talented back, man. I see some really good things in preseason, so you're going to get a chance to take a peek at him. And then defensive back Elijah Campbell, unfortunately, he is questionable. This Dolphins secondary is a little questionable, if you ask me. I think the Dolphins defense, they have Javon Holland, who is an absolute beast. We saw the game-winning play he had last week to help propel the Dolphins to a 1-0. Now, can someone else step up this week? Because the Bills may not be top-heavy with Stephon Diggs and maybe Gabe Davis and those guys. But I will tell you, this receiver room has a lot of talent in it for the Bills. So before we get to that, players that are out for the Bills. You have Taron Johnson, who is a boundary corner. Unfortunately, he is out. Then you have defensive end Daquan Smoot. Fortunately, he is out as well. The Bills' defensive line, they have Von Miller, listed behind. I think Smoot was in the middle. I don't exactly remember, but nonetheless, you have a guy going down, unfortunately. But the Bills still have Ed Oliver, AJ Epineza, and there's another young the young cat from Miami, Russo. I really liked how he looked week 1, but and then they have another one, Javon Solomon, who was also doubtful. So maybe looking a little thin on the defensive line, but I think that the Bills might be okay. And I'm gonna be honest with you, before looking at this game a bit, I was pretty one-sided who I was gonna pick, but the more I thought about it, I know who I want to pick, but we'll get to that in a second. So the storylines for this game, a lot of really good ones, man. I couldn't fit a lot of them on here. You got the three best from each side. So since the Dolphins are home, we'll start with them. Can the Dolphins finally take on Bills? The Bills have just been that team. We talked about it a little bit earlier. We hinted at it that, the Dolphins have just been that, or the Bills have just been that team for the Dolphins that the Dolphins can't knock off. They can't get the monkey off their back. We saw what happened last year, I saw too his interview where he was asked about it. He was asked, you guys have kind of struggled against the Bills. There was some kind of question about the Bills, and it was kind of a letdown. And you could hear the sourness and the bitterness and the bitter taste in his mouth from last season, and just how they played versus the Bills. So I think the Dolphins are going to come out hungry and they're going to want to take down the Bills, and I think this is a good opportunity to do so. I think there's actually a good case to be made for the Dolphins to win this game. And looking on the surface, I thought it was an easier matchup to predict, but the more I looked into it, the more I thought about it. I think that this matchup is actually very difficult to predict. But the Dolphins are at home, and they're looking to start 2-0 and looking to really take a lead in that division. Maybe not a commanding lead just yet, but they are looking to find a way to get that monkey off their back, to beat the Buffalo Bills for the first time. And I don't even know how long it's been. I think they were swept by the Bills last year. And then they just, they've struggled against the Bills, man. It's just been that team. So let's see if the Miami Dolphins can take the Bills on. I think that's going to be a big morale booster for this team moving forward. So next up is the offensive line. The offensive line is a big question mark for me because you look at this offensive line and you look at how they played last week versus the Jaguars. They did not look good. Granted, I do like what the Jaguars have. They did get a really nice defensive mind. The guy who was really good with the defense line. I think it's something Nielsen. But he made. I think of course you have Josh Allen. He is incredible. You have Trayvon Walker. I think they brought Arik Armstead over too. So they have talent on that defensive line. So it's not like Dolphins offensive line went up against a bad defensive line. I think it's a talented defensive line on top of that with a very bright defensive mind. So that was a little tough for the Dolphins. I mean the offensive line did not look good. It looked really bad. It looked really poor. And this week they're playing a good defensive line once again. They're playing Ed Oliver. They're playing Von Miller's a guy that's still on this team. AJ Epineza, Gregory Rousseau. This is an explosive defensive line for the Buffalo Bills. So it kind of worries me if the Dolphins become one-dimensional. How is it going to be difficult for the Dolphins to do what they need to do? Are they going to I think the Bills are going to play deep. I think the Bills are going to play and just make the Dolphins dink and dunk and make them drive down the field. They're not going to let any big plays happen as much as they could anyways. But I think they're going to make the Dolphins dink and dunk. And I think they're going to be okay with letting the Dolphins dink and dunk all game long. And if the Dolphins can do it, good for them. They will win. But if the Miami Dolphins cannot sustain a drive, it's going to be an issue. And, with that offensive line not really looking too good, struggling in week one. And, it really puzzles me why they didn't make a better attempt to really go ahead and address the offensive line is beyond me. But, to keep, typically to keep one of those drives going, you want to be able to run the football. You want to be able to have a periodical drive. I don't know if that's the right word, but you want to have a drive that's, I'm just blanking on the word, but you want to have a nice drive. You want to have, get a couple of first downs, drive down the field, and prove that you can do that, because I think that's one of the things about the Dolphins. They can hit you with big plays all day long. Tyreek, Waddle, and, they have a couple of extra guys. They have OBJ, too, so they have the weapons, man. Achin and Motion come out of the backfield. Obviously, they might not be healthy, but I do think Jeff Wilson, they do have Berrios. But can they just keep a drive going? Can they sustain a long drive? The Bills are gonna. I think that's what the Bills are gonna try and do this game. I think that they're gonna try and make the Dolphins drive down the field. I think they're gonna try and make them have to, dink and dunk and take your time and see if they can sustain a drive. And I think that's a big question mark for the Dolphins. Poor offensive line, big question marks there. You can't run the football. It's gonna be very hard to sustain a drive like that and drive down the field one first down at a time. Not just deep bombs to Tyreek Hill and Waddle and, just big plays. I think the Dolphins are going to have to drive down the field, and we'll see if they can do it. I think Tua is the man for it. I think Tua is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I love Tua Tagovailoa. If you ask me, I would take Tua on my team 10 out of 10. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I don't think there's much of a debate for it, really. You see how Tua plays. He's so accurate. He has great anticipation. He puts the ball right in the money. He has some of the best touch passes. One of the best touch passes I've seen. I love his touch pass. He just puts the ball right place, perfect timing, anticipates. He's my version of Drew Brees. I think he compares to Drew Brees in a lot of ways, and that's in high regards. But I think he is absolutely worth that, and it's crazy. But Tua is that guy. But he's gonna have to get the ball out quick, which they can absolutely do it. Screens, Tyreek, Waddle, and they can get that ball out quick, and they can, sustain a drive that way. They can't get the ball out quick. Just try to let Tyreek and Waddle make the plays, and Berrios even. have these guys make those plays, have those, break a couple tackles. They're fast, they're elusive. You know that they could. They're explosive and very electric. So at home, that might be what you have to do. That the Dolphins' offense might be a bit limited in that sense. I think the Bills are really going to want to force the Dolphins to take those quick passes, but at the same time they have a good defensive line. So we'll see, But I think that's what the Dolphins are going to have to do is they're going to have to sustain drives and not just big plays. I think the Bills are going to try to limit. Can they? That's a different story. But maybe they won't even be able to stop the deep pass and such. But then that takes longer for the play to develop, and of course that offensive line, big question mark. So that's a big storyline coming in this game. How is the Dolphins offensive line going to play? How are the Dolphins going to adjust to that? They did versus the Jaguars eventually, but they're going to, but they can't get out to a slow start like they did last week either. I mean, health in the backfield, we'll come back to that. As you see, we'll talk about that with the Bills. So health in the backfield is an issue, man. I mean, you look at Raheem Mostert and you look at Devon Achane. Last year they accounted for I think Mostert had like 20 touchdowns and 20-some, maybe 19 or 20, 21, something around there, 22 maybe. And then Devon Achane had like 10 or 11 the very few games he played. So like 30 touchdowns between those guys. And that's impressive for for running backs in general. That's very impressive, especially for how little Achane played as well. So it shows how explosive those two are. But not going to have those two. Who's going to step up? I think they still have Jeff Wilson. They have Jalen Wright. Hey, who is going to step up? That's a big question for me. And on top of that is it might Achane is that guy you could get the ball to out of the backfield. You could throw the ball to him. You can catch the ball, and Mostert is too. So Jeff Wilson is as well. So that factor of getting a good receiving back out quick and early in the down with that offense line having question marks. How is that going to fare with Jalen Wright and with these guys? I think Jalen Wright has a good ability to do that, and I think Jeff Wilson could. And I'm interested to see how the Dolphins are going to work this backfield if Achane is out as well. But if Achane is in, dude, I could see Achane in for an incredible fantasy day. I mean, I could see a 30 plus 35 kind of point performance if he's, if Mostert's out, unless, Wilson and Wright, they want to keep it mixed up a little bit and keep Chain healthy and fresh, but we'll see. So Josh Allen, let's move over to the Bills. Talk about the Dolphins a little bit. I actually had quite a bit to say about the Dolphins, but the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen's hand injury is on his left hand. So it's not like it's going to affect his throwing motion. It's not like it's going to affect him too much. But he had it cast up a couple times in practice. He said it's as comfortable as it's going to be. And he as we saw, he played with something like that in the cold. But how is he? I think he'll be fine. But it's definitely something just to ask yourself. Is that going to affect him at all or a little bit? It could. Because the pain is going to be there. He's probably going to feel it. He might get one of those Novocaine shots or whatever, or do the pain. I don't know if they do that for hands, but they probably could. I mean, I'm no medical guru, as you know. I'm no medical guru by any means, but I'm sure there's something they can do to limit that pain going into the game with one of those shots, with one of those injections. But so maybe if they just do that, he'll be absolutely fine. And it's like it won't even be there, but obviously it's still going to be there. It says left hand, so I'm not too concerned about it because he is a righty. He's a right hand thrower, as most of the quarterbacks are. So not really too worried about it. So as we kind of just talked about this for quite a bit, can the Buffalo Bills defense limit the explosive plays? And if they can limit these explosive plays, I think they have a good shot at winning this game, because I'm not too sure if the Dolphins can go down the field and have a periodic drive if they can have one of those drives where not just going down the field 2, 3, 4, 5 plays, make them run 11, 12, 13 plays to get into the end zone consistently, and you might have a win on your hands. I'm not sure if the Dolphins can do that. I think there were times last year the Dolphins were forced to do that, and they couldn't necessarily do it when it mattered the most. So, and that's a big part to the offensive line for the Dolphins. Can the offensive line hold up? Can they get that run game going? And they got the run game going a little bit last season. The offensive line wasn't good, but it wasn't absolutely dog crap. But this year the offensive line first week looked like absolute dog crap. And they did play a good defensive line. Let's not get that twist and act like they played a bad defensive line, which I think a lot of people are throwing out the Jaguar. I mean, I don't really know, but I don't really know why some people were saying the Jags defensive line isn't really anything special, but it is. They have really good guys on the defensive line, and the Bills do as well. They have Greg Russo, Adrian Penenza, Oliver, Smoot, and we saw a couple of guys are doubtful and out, but Von Miller is still on that team. So we're gonna see what the Bills have in store here and what kind of game plan they're gonna have for the Dolphins. Are they going to, just rush four and trust them, and then have all those other guys in coverage and not really even load the box too much? Because if those four guys are that strong and the Dolphins' offense line is struggling, I mean, obviously you're gonna want more guys in the box. You're just gonna have more than four guys. That's just how it is. But are the Bills gonna focus on just get as many guys on pass coverage as they could? I could see that. I could see the Bills just trying to force the Dolphins to drive down the field. But are they going to be able to? That's a whole nother story that we'll have to see. That we'll have to see unfold. But I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a really good game. Like I said, it was on the surface of things, you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, the Bills are probably going to kill this. But, if we go back to last week, back with the explosive plays real quick, Kyler Murray and that Cardinals offense, they were pretty explosive, man. There were a couple of blown coverages. You saw the missed pass to Marvin Harrison Jr. You saw Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm sure you saw the clip many times this past week. Marvin Harrison Jr. was wide open. Wide the heck open. So you ask yourself, this Bills defense, they're still learning. They're still very young. No Tre'Davious White. Those safeties, they're down both of their best safeties. Boyer's gone, and Hyde, I think he's been gone. But nonetheless, it's interesting to see. The Cardinals were pretty explosive last week, and the Cardinals do have some really good playmakers. I like Trey McBride. I like Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously. They have some nice football players under their belt on their team over there, but total Miami Dolphins, I mean, they have one of the best, if not the best, skill position groups in the entire NFL. They're fast. That goes without saying. Tyreek, Waddle, Wilson, A-Chain when he is healthy. There are so many good, skilled position. I think they have this best skill positions. There they have so many fast players, dynamic, explosive. They're they're so fast. It's like a track field. So, can the defense limit explosive plays? Can they not blow coverages like they did last week? You could set up a defensive plan to do that, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to do that. And I don't know if the Bills have the ability to do that yet. Very young secondary, just a secondary. I'm not sure if is capable of keeping up with the Dolphins' skill position players. Tyreek, Waddle. Don't really need to name all of them 80 times. I have. So the Bills, kind of in the same boat for the Dolphins here. You cannot afford to get off to a slow start, the Bills, really, I could say. Because if the Bills get off to a slow start, I mean, could the Dolphins really run the football? I'm not sure. We'll see if they can get the run game going. If they do, you have to a slow start, and the Dolphins get out ahead that far, and they have the run game going. It's going to be a long day, And that's really any team. If you get out to a slow start, can't stop the run, you're down a couple scores early, you're in a hostile environment, you're probably going to lose that football game. But nonetheless, it was very important for the Bills the Bills and the Dolphins to get off to a strong start. Whoever gets off to a stronger start is going to win. That's what I could see right now. But I mean, they can't afford to start slow like you did for this Cardinals going down 17-3. I mean, there was a strip sack. You were very fortunate a couple times. You forgot about the touchdown that was wide open. They got very fortunate, but they did play hard. They are a very good football team, so they earned that win. But obviously, you cannot start slow. A hostile environment, against a division rival that's hungry. The Miami Dolphins are hungry, man. They're hungry. They're at home, and they're looking for revenge. You cannot start slow. You cannot give this Miami Dolphins team more energy than they're already going to have coming into this game. So, that's really all I got for the storylines. I mean, a lot of storylines, a lot of things to talk about this game for me today. I mean, I got a lot to talk about. So here are my score predictions, man. I had the Miami Dolphins coming out, and it's kind of a feeling thing, At first, when I looked at the game, like I said, I thought the Bills were going to win it. I thought it was a pretty easy pick. But the more I thought about it, the more I looked into it, I just think this Dolphins team is hungry to win this game. And sometimes it's not enough. You're hungry. Sometimes you gotta have, the right game, the right game plan and all that put into place. And just because you're hungry and you gotta go out and prove yourself doesn't mean you're going to. But I think the Dolphins offense is, even though the Bills are going to try to limit those big plays and force the Dolphins to drive down the field, I just think that I just don't think that the Bills are going to be able to stop them. I just don't think the Bills are going to be able to do that. There's one thing to try to do it, and then it's a whole other thing to do it, to stop it. And you're going to get very creative, offensive minded, and Mike McDaniel, all those crazy skill positions. They can line up anywhere in the field, slot, running back. It doesn't matter who it is. They can line up anywhere. And it's going to be difficult, even though I do think the Bills' defensive line, they're going to get after Tua. They're going to get a couple of sacks and pressure him, but I think that Tua is just going to be able to get that ball out. Those guys are, Tyreek and Wild, they're so quick. They can move so fast, get down the field so fast. Tua just has to lay it out there pretty early for the with the anticipation factor. And, I think they'll be fine. I think the Dolphins will be able to. I think they get, that they're going to attack the seam, and over the middle of the field and such. And I think the Miami Dolphins are going to be fine in this game. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to pull it out 34-31. Pretty close score. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a treat for us this Thursday night. But hey, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where your fans welcome. If you enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe, put the post notification bell on so you don't miss any future videos. And quick shout out to our member, Marshman Gunner. I appreciate you being a member. You don't have to be a member, but you are appreciated if you do become a member. It helps further support the show and me be able to, just put it right back on the show and put more into it. So, yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. JDW Sports Talk Show. I am signing